Welcome back to the 25th episode of the Dear Young Men podcast. In today's episode, we're going to talk about how to be happy, why you aren't where you want to be, and 6 words that will completely change the way you look at the world on Dear Young Men. The Dear Young Men podcast is a weekly podcast that posts Tuesday at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we talk to the 20-year-old version of myself and all the young men out there that need guidance. When I make these podcasts, I have YouTube brain, and YouTube brain is that you talk about everything right in the beginning. You give them the best 30 seconds that they've ever seen in the first 30 seconds. And I don't know if I like doing that on podcasts because it's hard to come up with the best thing in the first 30 seconds because sometimes ideas take longer. That's just the way I'm thinking. But I want to start with this clip that I watched, and it's from a show called Rick and Morty, and it was just sort of a compilation of clips, and I happened to be watching this, and I saw this thing, and it was about happiness, and I want to give my thoughts on it because I think it's really wrong. So I'm going to play the clip here.
The smarter you are, the more you know. Happiness is a trap. It can't last forever. Let's say you meet the love of your life. Well, it's still going to end. It's inevitable, whether by the slow pull of a disease or the shock of loose footing on a hiking trail, whether it be the corrosion of two personalities that reshape each other until they're incompatible, or maybe the old stranger in a bar who says the things that need to be said to that person that night. The point is, happiness always ends. Best case scenario, think about this. Best case is that you die at the same time.
So this is a really intense quote, and I don't know what the context of this quote is, but somebody wrote it, and it kind of makes sense within the context of the person who creates the show. And so the idea is that happiness is a trap. The best case is that you die at the same time. This is obviously written from somebody who's not a Christian, because we know that this life is temporary, but the life beyond this life is much greater and much better. But it was interesting because I thought about it, and happiness isn't a trap. Happiness is a choice. You choose happiness. You choose joy. That's how you look at the world. That's how you frame the world. And if you think that happiness is something that happens to you, then you're going to have this outlook that's negative and bad and wrong. And actually like pretty obviously wrong. And listening to that, I've listened to it a couple times now, and it's inevitable that it'll end. It doesn't have to end. This life is temporary, yes, but the life beyond this life is not temporary. Let's say you meet the love of your life. Well, it's still going to end. And that is like probably the worst way to look at anything in the world ever. Of course, we know everything's going to end. We know that taking a risk and being happy is worth it, though. It's like this idea that marriage is wrong because you could get divorced. Yeah, you could get divorced, but it's a gamble that I'm willing to take because the benefits of being married to the right person in a good, solid marriage are worth far more than the negatives that could come from being alone. And yeah, there's a risk. There's definitely a risk of being married. There's a chance at the end of it ends terribly. There's also a chance at the end of it that you stay married for 50, 60, 70 years and you have a wonderful life. You have kids, you have grandkids, you have great-grandkids. There's something far greater than just this tiny little happiness fleeting. I think this is a materialist idea about how happiness is a chemical reaction in your brain, and it's not true. Happiness and joy, those are choices that you make. That's how you view the world on a daily basis. Do you go throughout the day moping and, things are bad that happen to me and this and it's like, dude, yeah, bad stuff, bad shit happens to everyone. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that a surprising idea that bad stuff can happen to everyone? And yet there's this idea that happiness is fleeting. It's just dopamine in your brain. And it's not true. It's how you choose to look at the world. It's how you choose to view the things that have happened to you. And if you choose to view things that have happened to you in a negative light, then yeah, happiness to you is fleeting. Because happiness is something that happens to you, and I just get unlucky sometimes, and my life is, it's insane. Like, this quote is from somebody who has a miserable life. And I'm sorry, and if you view the world this way, you have a miserable life. And I would suggest you change it, because it's not fun to live miserably, because I've lived like this. I was that edgy atheist who didn't think God existed, and happiness is just a chemical reaction that happens in your brain, and joy and all this stuff, it's not true, blah, 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 blah. All that stuff is wrong. Happiness and joy, these are decisions that you make. You choose to exude that. If you don't want to choose to do that, that's fine. I know a lot of miserable people. And you don't know that many people that are just joyful, that are just happy, they're in a good mood. I think I'm actually one of those people. And of course, I'm going to think that I'm always in a good mood because I know I'm not. No, I'm not always in a good mood. But the way you act throughout the world is a choice. If you want to be happy and joyful, you can choose that. And if you don't, you can choose that as well. It's up to you the way you go throughout this world. Choose to be happy. Why not? Why just, oh, it's going to end. Everything's so bad because it could end at some point. You're right. There's no chance of taking risks. Just stay in your house for the rest of your life. Because you know what? There's a pretty good chance that at the end of your life, it's going to end. So you might as well enjoy the fucking ride, right? Like, we're all here for a short amount of time. Let's just enjoy it and smile throughout the day and stop being so miserable all the time. That's what I think of that. Pardon my French. So I think that at the end of the day, just be happy, right? Just choose it. It's okay. It's okay to choose that. Life sucks for everyone. It's so hard. It's incredibly hard. Choose to be happy. That's your decision. Just choose it. I mean, just wake up and decide it. I don't know. I mean, I know people deal with things all the time and depression, all this stuff. And look, we've all felt that to a certain level. And like, I'm not saying just be happy. Like, I get it. I get that it's hard. But like, so much of it is just how you view the world. I'm not saying that you don't need any of this or that. I'm saying just choose to view the world in a positive light and you will be amazed at the way your life begins to change. Next, I want to talk about the exponential graph of success. An exponential graph is a graph that starts out basically flat. It's flat line in the beginning. And 1 year passes, it's flat. 2 year passes, a little increase, but still basically flat. 3, 4, 5, 6 years pass, and it's still basically flat the entire way. And then there's something that happens in like the 5th year or the 6th year or the 7th year or the 8th year or the 10th year, whatever it is. And that's when the graph starts to increase at an increasing rate. And I've been thinking about this a lot. Currently I'm making this video series that I decided I'm going to make for my main channel, Scott Schroeder. And the idea is basically I'm going to film myself every single day. And I'm going to track these few things that I want to track, that I want to do. And throughout all of that, throughout the entire year, the goal is at the end of it to show what a year's worth of growth actually looks like and how hard it is, how long it takes, and how the ups and the downs, and how through it all, just choose to be happy. That's kind of part of it. And so what I've just been realizing is that success is weird because, and I've only, on YouTube, I have a tech channel called Techno Eclipse. I talk about it a bunch. And I'm not saying that I've reached exponential success, but I've looked at the graphs and it is so odd. So right now I have almost 9,000 subscribers. And I'm tracking this as I go throughout this new challenge or this new video series I'm making, a monthly video. And so I'm tracking because I want to hit 50,000 by the end of the year. That was like the goal I set. And I'm going to do that by posting 2 videos each week. And that seems insane. Like, so you're going to more than double the amount of subscribers that you currently have, almost triple them. And yeah, that sounds crazy. But it took me on this channel, it just turned 7 years old the other day. It took me 6 years to get to 12,000 subscribers. And it took me 1 to get to 18. So like you could see that the graph is trending up in a way that you can conceive that it might become exponential. It hasn't become exponential yet, but you could see this. It's like 6,000 more people subscribe to this channel, which means 6,000 more people like it, which means those 6,000 more people will watch the video, which means YouTube will be willing to send it to more than just those 6,000 people. And because 6,000 people like it, they might send it to 6,000 more. So that's 12,000 potentially. And as that number continues to grow, that the number that they can send it to begins to grow, and it begins to grow exponentially. That's how you see so many creators who go from 1,000, 2,000, 4,000, 5,000, and then up to like 15, and then up to 30, and up to 50, and it sort of happens kind of quick up to that. So that's sort of how it goes, especially with the type of content I'm making. It's very methodical, day in, day out. It's just 10,000, 15, 20,000 views. It's sort of just put in the hard work now, and maybe a video will sort of pop and bring all the other videos up. And it like MKBHD has said that. He said that you don't want, the worst thing for young creators to have a video go viral. And I agree with that because I had a video go viral on the Scott Schroeder channel and I didn't like it. It was too much. On Techno Eclipse, I've just been basically the whole time just videos. A good video will get 50,000 views, maybe 100. A bad video will get like 10,000 views. And I just sort of chunk my way. Each video just sort of gets 10, 15, 20,000 views and you're sort of plodding along. And that 10,000 will become 12 and then 15. And sort of that baseline just sort of starts to slowly move up. And that's sort of how that process has been. And so if you are if you're working towards a goal right now, understand that it takes forever because you want to get to the margins, because the margins of success are where the exponential growth happens. And that's in the 7th, 8th, 9th year. It takes forever to get there. I mean, if you're in year 4, just understand that buckle in. Like, buckle in. If you're in year 3, buckle in. It takes forever. I mean, it does. Some people it goes faster, some people it goes slower, but just buckle in. Like, you just got to get used to, you got to get comfortable with being sort of uncomfortable in this position. And so just understand that if you want to get to that point that you want to get to, that whatever it is in your life, for me, it's 50,000 subscribers at that point, and I want to lose weight, and I want to get down to 165 pounds, and I'm sort of tracking all of that I'm doing, and I want to grow this podcast and all this stuff. I'm doing all these things, and I'm tracking it on this Scott Schroeder channel and these videos, and I think it's really interesting because I'm editing it along as I do it, so it's sort of motivating me to do more because I'm making the video as I'm living my life, which is the video. It's really weird. It's kind of a cool thing, though. You might want to consider trying it if you're stuck. So just understand that this stuff takes time, and to get to that growth where you want to be, you'll be on the margins of your category. If I get to 50,000 subscribers, 100,000 subscribers, I have more subscribers than 99.5% of people on YouTube. And that's what it's about. It's like you have to just get to these margins. The only way to get to those margins is to take 7, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20 years, whatever it is. Next, I want to talk about the single largest reason that you do not succeed in life. The single largest reason you don't succeed in life is this little device right here. And I've been talking about this a long time. This is a cell phone, if you're just listening. Not that many people do listen, but maybe one day people will come back and listen to this because this is going to be a really good episode if you haven't already told. I said the F word. I don't ever curse. Well, I don't ever curse in this podcast, really. I guess I have a couple times. Anyways, so the phone is the single largest reason you don't have success. The average American spends 5 hours and 2 minutes on their phone. In 2024, Americans spend an average of 2.5 months on their phone, reflecting the increasing reliance on digital devices for various activities. The screen time encompasses social media engagement, with platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok dominating daily interactions, as well as entertainment through streaming services like Netflix and YouTube. Additionally, work-related tasks, online shopping, and digital content consumption contribute to the surge in screen time. The global trend shows that the average person spends over 6 hours a day on screens, raising concerns about the effects on mental health, physical well-being, and social dynamics. Excessive screen time has been linked to issues such as anxiety, depression, and sleep disturbances. Experts recommend regular breaks, physical activity, and mindful content consumption to mitigate these negative effects and promote a healthier digital life. Whoa. So you're telling me if I spend 6 hours a day on my phone, 5 hours a day on my phone, not talking to anybody, watching stuff at 2x, consuming content that's bad for me, that's not this podcast. This is the only, I'm the only one. I have the whole Scott Schroeder. I was thinking about this the other day. Somebody sent me a really, really nice email talking about this podcast and my tech channel and then my Scott Schroeder. It was really nice, a very nice email. And he was talking about how he was going up to Michigan. It was cool. It was a cool email. And I was thinking about it. I'm like, I have a whole Scott Schroeder. I have a whole cinematic universe now. I got the tech content. I have the lifestyle content with Scott Schroeder. And then I have this podcast, which is like advice. So the whole Scott Schroeder cinematic universe is coming together. And the Avengers one day will unite. And there'll be Tech Scott over here, Podcast Scott here, and then Scott Schroeder Scott there, and we'll all fight because, I don't know, I just feel like we'll fight together. But anyways, so I was thinking this is insane. 5 hours is insane, 6 hours is insane. We're up for 8, or we're up for 16, right, because we sleep for 8. So almost 1/2 of your life is consumed by screens, which, I mean, that makes, for me, I'm on a screen when I'm at work for 8 hours a day. I mean, I have a job. This is a mandatory thing. So you could get rid of that. I don't include that as really screen time because if I had a different job, I would just be doing that job instead. My job just requires me to look at a screen. Okay, so I'm up for 16 hours minus the 8, so now I'm up for 8 hours. And let's say a couple of those hours were spent at work on your screen, right? So 2 of the 6 or 2 of the 5 were spent on the screen. So that leaves you with 3 or 4 hours of screen time for when you get home. So most people get home from work at 5:30. They eat dinner 6:30-ish, and then they spend 3 or 4 hours on their screen. So now it's 9:30, 10:30, and then they go to bed, and they wake up at 7 and do the same thing all over again. Wow. So there's really no time for anything in your entire life because you're spending your entire life on a screen. That's interesting. So that is the biggest reason you're not successful. That's the biggest reason you're not where you want to be, right? Because we're talking about time. And as I've gotten older, I realize that that's the biggest bottleneck in my life. I'm a multi-talented guy, right? I'm handsome. I'm really intelligent. I'm 6'3". I might only technically be 5'10", but really, we were talking about mindset earlier about just choosing to be happy, choosing joy, and I'm choosing to be 6'3". Ultimately, I think that so much of my life, I realize that everything just comes down to time. Time. And I don't have enough time. And these people who are spending 5 or 6 hours a day on their phones, they do actually have enough time. I'm really good with my screen time. I'm really good with my time after work. On a normal day after work, I will work from 8:30 to 5, and then I'll spend like 2 hours, an hour and a half with my kids, and then I'll work out and then work, and then I go to bed. And I get like 7 hours of sleep every night, 6 hours of sleep every night, and I'm really efficient with my time. There's not a lot of wasted time. There's wasted time here and there for sure. For the most part, there's no wasted time. And I realized that I still wish I had more. I wish I had more time. If I had more time, I'd do so much more with it. And you see these things where these people, 6 hours, 5 hours on your phone. It's like you want to accomplish a goal and you're spending that much time on your phone. That's crazy town. Stop. Stop spending so much time on your phone. I've made a million videos about how to do it. I think one of the best ways is to downgrade your phone. I use a 12 mini as my main device. I have a tech channel with 20,000 subscribers. I could get the best phone that I could ever possibly want. And I use a 12 mini because it helps me reduce my screen time. I'd suggest looking at like a 2022 iPhone SE, those types of things. You can look at a dumb phone. Those are okay. I don't love those. I've tested a bunch of those out, and there hasn't been one that was good enough, I thought, because phones, you do sort of need them. Looking at phone or menus for food, parking in a lot of cities, you have to use your phone these days. So you do sort of need a smartphone. It's just trying to find that thread, that needle, and figure out exactly where, like what kind of phone you need. For me, it's been an iPhone. You just no social media apps. If you're addicted to social media, just delete your account on the social media app and you won't use it. It's pretty easy that way. And just make a conscious effort. If you feel like you're gonna go grab your phone, pick up a book instead, stand up and walk around, whatever. You have tics, you're addicted. So get unaddicted to your phone, because you're not where you want to be because of your phone, and that's it. So if you want to do, I have this written down. If you want to get in shape, do you want to start a business? Do you want to start something in life? Get off your effing phone. We've already scored once. We already said one F word today. We don't need to go with two. My wife's going to listen to this in the car, and I hope my kids aren't listening because they shouldn't hear their dad say the F word, but sorry, sweetie. Anyways, okay, so next I want to talk about 6 words that I think can radically change somebody else's life. So we're talking about a lot of like mindset stuff today. And so join my course, and I'm going to give you my mastermind mindset course, and just pay me like $97. Pay me $197 a month, and we'll figure it out on the back end on how I'm going to actually change your life. So just do that. Just give me the money first, and I'll figure it out later. But give me the money because I need the money. And so just give me the money. So I have 2 thoughts, and it's 6 words total. The first one is do hard things. The second one is do it now. So I have that actually as the background on my phone. It says, if you can see on the podcast, it says do it now. And it's just three words and a period. That's the background of my phone. It just says do it now. It's black with white letters if you're listening. And I like that because I think so much of everything in our lives, if you just did it now, your life would change. So starting just from the basics, let's say you want to improve the way you take care of yourself, or like brushing your teeth and taking showers and dressing nicer. Just do it now. So get up and do it now. If you get the urge, if you think about it throughout the middle of the day or at night, do it then. Do it now. If you get that idea through your head, just doing it now, you will start to change a lot of the way you think, because it's like, I need to work out. I'm going to do it now. I need to work on my YouTube. In my case, I need to work on my YouTube channel. Do it now. I need to spend more time with my kids. Do it now. I need to kiss my wife, or I need to take her out on a date. Do it now. Do it now. You think about it. Do it now. Don't think, okay, that's a great idea. In 4 hours, I'm going to go to the gym. No. If you have the motivation to do it now, do it now. It'll completely change your life. The other one, doing hard things. Doing hard things is really hard because hard things suck. I hate doing hard things. They suck. But the rewards you get at the end of doing hard things make doing hard things really quite good. So do hard things and do them now. That's the ideas that that's basically my motto for 2025 that I'm trying to live into, that I've been living into, I think, for the last couple of years, but I'm really trying to I'm trying to take it to just the extreme of the extreme. I'm trying to push myself as hard as I possibly can for a year. I said in this video I'm filming for Scott Schroeder, I said, I'm okay if I burn out at the end of this year because I want to just see how far I can push myself because I'll burn out, whatever, take a month off, and then I'll get back into it. And so I want to push myself as hard as I can for just 1 year, just see what happens, see what I can do in a year. And so do hard things and do it now. It'll change your life. Oh, and get off your phone. All right, next I want to talk about Kanye West's Jesus is King album. This is a really weird topic for me because I never listened to Kanye West until I listened to this album. I mean, I think I had heard like the Harder, Faster, Stronger song. I'd heard that, but I'd never like listened to him at all. I just had no interest in him. Not that he wasn't good. I literally was like, I don't know. I'm not interested in listening to it. But for some reason, just one day I started listening to the album and I loved it. Oh no. The audio's not recording. I just realized the audio wasn't recording on my microphone. I'm just gonna keep going. Okay, so the audio is gonna sound a lot better now because I just realized it wasn't on this. I wasn't recording it on my thing the whole time. Oh shoot. I'll fix the audio and post on my camera, assuming it's good enough. Okay, so anyways, the album, Christ is Jesus is King by Kanye West, released in 2019. It features 11 songs on it: Every Hour, Selah, Follow God, Close on Sunday, On God, Everything We Need, Water, God Is, Hands On, Use This Gospel, and Jesus is Lord. It's a really good album. It's actually really good. I don't typically like this style of music, but it was fantastic, especially Closed on Sunday. If you've never listened to Closed on Sunday, if you never even heard of this album, listen to the Closed on Sunday YouTube official music version of that song. It is unbelievable. When the choir gospel hits at the end, the last like 40 seconds, it's remarkable. And so my couple thoughts are that I think this album, I texted this to my friends back in November. I said, I just listened to Kanye's Christian album for the first time. Has anyone else listened to it? And my friend responded and he said, yeah, I have. That song goes hard. That album, one of the songs on that album goes hard as F. And I said, why is it the best Christian album anyone has ever made? I guarantee you he brought more people to Jesus than almost anybody in history. And I really believe that. I think that this is not one of his more popular albums, but he is a cultural icon that's so remarkable. Every industry he's ever stepped into, he's completely dominated. So whether it was fashion or music, he stepped into it and then he was the best. Music, he was the best. Fashion, he was the best. And it's remarkable to be able to do that, to be able to do something and always be the best at it. We were talking about margins earlier, and to just be that remarkable is remarkable. And so I'm not going to like fully review the album, but it's a really good album. And if you haven't listened to it, I would suggest listening to it. Every Hour is good. Selah is good. Follow God is good. Close on Sunday is insane. You have to listen to the YouTube version. In the YouTube version, he is standing on a cliff and he says, he knows the Bible pretty well. Like you could tell he's got a pretty good understanding of the Bible. He says he's standing on a rock and he's like singing to the heavens basically in this music video. He's on a mountain, rock, whatever you want to call it. It's just him. And he says, stand up for my home. Even if I take this walk alone, I bow down to the King upon the throne. He sings it better than I talk it. And it's so interesting because that is Matthew 10:21 through 23 perfectly. Jesus says, brothers will turn against their own brothers and hand them over to be killed. Fathers will hand over their own children to be killed. Children will fight against their own parents and will have them killed. Everyone will hate you because you follow me, but the one who remains faithful to the end will be saved. When you are treated badly in one city, go to another city. I promise you that you will not finish going to all the cities of Israel before the Son of Man comes again. That's exactly what that line means. Stand up for my home, even if I take this walk alone, I bow down to the King upon the throne. And it's so interesting because he's saying, I'll do it by myself. And eventually, like recently after this album was released, his wife divorced him, which sucks. You could tell the divorce really broke him. And then he kind of went crazy. I'm not defending any of that stuff, but he did kind of go a little crazy there. A lot crazy. But he this album doesn't change the fact that this album is really, really remarkable. The final song, Jesus is Lord, is 4 minutes too short. I think it might actually be the best song of the album, other than maybe Close on Sunday and God Is. Those are Close on Sunday, God Is, Jesus is Lord. Those are my favorite. And Use This Gospel is really good. Those 4 songs are my favorite. The other ones are good. The other songs are good. They're kind of filler songs in a way, but they're good. But there's some really good songs on the album, and I just think it's really interesting that a guy like that was able to, in an industry that the music industry in general is openly negative, right? So many of the songs are about doing things that are bad, treating women poorly, all that type of stuff. And the fact that he came out with this gospel album, it's really impressive, and he did something pretty remarkable. I'm not saying, I don't need to defend or not defend his actions that he did since then. Obviously, he's made a lot of mistakes, but this album is really good, and you should give it a chance. Regardless of the man who made it or what he's done since he made it, it's a really good album, and he knows his gospel really well. And I'm very impressed with what he did. I think he did a really good job with this, and I suggest anybody listen to it. And that concludes the 25th episode of the Dear Young Men podcast. I appreciate you for listening. It's been a really long day for me. It's 10:30 on Monday before, of course. Like I said, I wasn't going to do this, but instead I'm doing it. And it's a long story, but we had carpet installed, and they were here for 12 hours almost. So it's not anybody's fault. They just took them 12 hours to install carpet. And so I just was waiting, and they're banging around up there. So I'm not going to record the podcast. So I've just been sort of stuck in my basement just all day, waiting for them, twiddling my thumbs for them to leave. They did eventually leave, but I don't know. Those types of hurdles in life are going to happen. And I say a lot of stuff, but talk is cheap. So I want to do the things that I say that you should do hard things, do it now. And that's what I'm doing. I'm filming this podcast now. The last thing I want to do is film this podcast now. I had a long day at work. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I probably sound tired, but I'm here and I'm filming, and I'm going to edit this, and I'm going to post it tomorrow, because that's what I need to do. That's what I'm supposed to do. And you yourself go into this tomorrow, the rest of the week, the rest of the year, and know that you can just do it. I don't know, just choose to do it. So much of it is just a choice and a decision that you have to make, and just do it now and do hard things and choose to be happier. Choose to view the world in a way that's not always negative, because there's a lot of beauty in this world. You just need to look for it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching. This has been Scott with the Dear Young Men podcast. 25th episode. So we're in a bit of a hot streak right now. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.